Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our annual fraud month. It's September. It's our fraud month, and today Doug and I are going to tackle fraud and risks and things that we've seen in the last couple of years. In particular, we're going to tackle some discussion around airline misrepresentation, fake agencies, credit card fraud, phishing emails, and of course unauthorized ticketing. My name is Cornelius Hutton. I'm the Director of Revenue Integrity. I've been, prior to ARC, I've been with IATA in a global role, and I've been with ARC now for coming up to 6 years. So in which I've been working very closely with Doug and other colleagues on this topic of fraud and expanding our abilities and knowledge as this issue continues to grow year over year. Doug?
I'm Doug Nass. I'm the Director of Fraud Investigations at ARC, and I've been doing fraud for ARC for 27 years. So seen a lot of things, and so hopefully you'll enjoy some of the things, or not. I mean, it's hard to enjoy these things as they can be very destructive. But anyway, let us begin.
Yeah, thank you. Next slide, please. We're just going to do a quick refresh here on what's going on with fraud in our industry, the reason fraud is happening, the origination of it, and of course the impact. Card not present continues to be a big issue for us in our industry. It's also big business for the dark web. Stolen data is obtained via data breaches, card skimming, malicious programs, ransomware, and a myriad of other ways, and it ends up on the dark web and then sold to the bad actors. And those bad actors are normally the ones that utilize our services as travel agencies and/or airlines. So once they get that data, the game for them begins by using the stolen credentials of both, credit card and loyalty cards that they've obtained on the dark web. They start purchasing high-value flights, hotels, and other travel-related offerings, either utilizing these purchases to drive their own fraudulent activities or sell these strips on at a lower value to, unknowing customers or knowing, and the hope that they get a flight or a special deal in one way or another. Now, in order for them to do this, they need a platform to advertise and sell their product. This is achieved by creating fictitious social media or travel agency accounts. They can also hijack legitimate accounts and agency accounts, both on the social media and on the web, and we'll get into that a little bit later. There's also services being provided on the dark web where they will host a platform for you to accept payments and or promote these the sale of the travel offerings. In addition to travel bookings, these cyber criminals may also advertise other illegal services and or products, etc. Unfortunately, it does not seem as if the card not present fraud environment we're in is going to go away anytime soon. As studies show that it's projected to become an $11 billion problem towards 2025. And this is not even taking into account the impact of loyalty fraud in this environment. And this is also shown here in our data. Of course, there's only the top iceberg. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's kind of breaking up a little bit.
So as I mentioned, it's going to be said to be an $11 billion problem, but here we only see the tip of the iceberg in our data. In that, we've through our that we see. Sorry, can you guys hear me now? I stopped my video just to get a better bandwidth here going. But so just back here on our data, and Doug, if you want to get into that on the data side and what we do to help travel agencies out.
Okay. Yeah, we are looking every day at a lot of the high-risk airports where we tend to see more of the fraud. Typically, just because of the bandwidth within the team, we monitor a little more closely West Africa, certain airports around there. South and Central America, where we tend to see more activity, fraud activity, whether it's traditional credit card fraud, whether it's loyalty fraud. So loyalty meaning a lot of corporate agencies have the fulfillment for banks, meaning you want to redeem all the miles or points that you've accrued. You know, the bank isn't doing that. They've teamed up with the corporate agencies. Well, fraudsters know how to get into those accounts as well. So that's what we call loyalty fraud. Corporate fraud is more around a fraudster is posing as either an existing corporate client to try to get tickets, typically through a social engineering scheme. It could be through a compromised online booking tool, a Concur type of setup where, you know, it's not the agency that has done anything wrong. They're, you know, it's one of their corporate clients or a university client where a student, an employee has accidentally given up their login credentials. So once they get into the corporate site or the university site, oftentimes those, you know, those booking tools are sitting behind the scenes. Believe me, fraudsters know how to get into those as well. So those are things that we try to look out for. UAT, which is unauthorized ticketing. You know, we're going to spend a little more time down the line as to what unauthorized ticketing is, what it looks like. But these are huge problems. You know, as travel evaporated in 2020, fraudsters left the scene as well. They made a slow comeback in 2021. We started to see some of the people that we were chasing, or some of the schemes that we were chasing back then. Well, unfortunately, in 2022, they're all back. Everyone that we used to see is all back. So what we're doing is when we spot suspicious activity, we will send out an email alert, a fraud alert to the issuing agency asking, hey, we flagged this. We don't know it's fraud, but can you tell us a little more about, you know, how it got issued? Was it through online? Was it through a booking tool? Was it through social engineering? Or, you know, tell us more about who ordered these. And we can often help you determine whether you're dealing with a legit customer or if it's a fraudster. So please pay attention to those fraud alerts. We are, as you can see, we're sending more and more. It's become really busy in the last couple of months. You know, when, you know, just like regular travel, fraudsters are out there acting as black market travel agents, and they're trying to, you know, they've got their own customers as well. So we're out there collectively trying to save everybody as much as possible. One last point about this slide is we've estimated we've definitely stopped by sending fraud alerts, alerting agents. We've been able to save hard dollars about $175,000 so far in the first 8 months of the year. But really the impact is much greater than that. We figure it's about 7 times greater because we are impacting, we're shutting off the fraud rather than have it continue and more tickets are issued. So really the impact is, we figure it's about 1.25 million of real savings. So that's good. It's a good number.
Yeah. And you know, and building on that, Doug, as well, I think as those alerts come in, you know, sometimes we get a response back from the agent saying, oh no, it's legitimate, it's fine, it's good, I've checked it all out. And you know, we can only, you know, act on what you tell us. So if you think it's good, we're going to say okay. But if we see that information again, we're going to send you another fraud alert, and we're going to start begging you to take action. So when it gets to that state, you know, work with us. You know, we're not here to hinder your business. We're not here to, you know, cause you a loss of money. We're actually trying to prevent you from losing money. So work with us, please. Respond to us, even if you do think it's a legitimate booking. You know, we sit on a wealth of data, and you know, we want to work with you. We want to resolve this issue with you. We don't want to see you lose any money. So you know, there's a downstream impact on everyone in this. So if you get a fraud alert from us, please work with us on that, and you know, we can together we can help, you know, save you some more money. So going into the presentation, we really want to focus on, you know, sort of 4 core areas that we've been tackling. Doug's mentioned the top 3 there already, but we want to tackle friendly fraud and chargebacks. We want to talk about account takeovers, in particular on how unauthorized ticketing is happening in our environment. It's a big problem right now. As you can see, most of our alerts here from June, July, and August are mainly unauthorized ticketing related, going up to 180 alerts here in August. It's just something phenomenal. So definitely a focus on that. We're going to talk about stolen credit cards leading to chargebacks, and of course fake online travel agencies, which are also driving a lot of this fraud. You know, so the following slides are really just designed to review these fraud schemes, the industry players that suffer from it, and how to mitigate it. You know, some ideas there for you to maybe apply in your day-to-day. So let's jump right into it. Judy, if you can forward to the next slide, please.
One housekeeping item is on your control panel should be probably along the right-hand side, is we love questions. So you can click on the questions. There'll be a drop down and type them in, and we will try to answer as many as possible. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for that, Doug. And I actually see there's a question saying airlines ? And I think it's about the alerts. We do send alerts to the airlines as well, especially when, you know, there's been the unauthorized ticketing piece. We will make sure we send a message to the agency, we send a separate message to the airline alerting them of the issue, and we send a message to the GDS. But we'll get a little bit into that as we get into the particulars of unauthorized ticketing. But we do also inform the airlines of that, and I hope that answers your question. So account takeover, you know, it's become a big problem here, and it keeps on growing. And the people affected are, you know, the travelers and the travel agencies, and, you know, on those direct environments, it also plays in on the airlines. The most popular part of this is really when it comes to loyalty fraud and loyalty programs, where those points are being stolen. You know, it's an easy product to steal from. It's not very well monitored. It's not very secure. But, you know, the account takeovers can also come in forms of ransomware being applied on, you know, travel agencies, on airlines accounting software, and holding that ransom for one thing or another, or somehow scraping information from your services. Phishing emails, of course, the origin for a lot of our unauthorized environment, and you know, other ways of stealing credentials. We mentioned the dark web and so on. So many ways, you know, the system is being manipulated and data being obtained. So what can we do to prevent this fraud? You know, the main thing is strengthen your privacy settings. You know, have rules, work with your IT teams. You know, put in safeguards to protect your systems, protect your agencies, your teams. You know, provide education, inform them what to look out for, what to do in situations. You know, look, you know, opt for address verification services. You know, use CVV or CVC verification. Recognize photos and identity documentation. You know, that's another thing that we look at. Doug and team looks at that on a regular basis. It's very easy to spot fakes. It does get a little bit harder, but, you know, Doug's favorite saying is the fraudsters get lazy and they slip up. So we've got an array of information on our website as well that give you some examples of what to look for, but there are other resources as well out there that you can utilize to check that out. You know, again, we're going to keep saying this throughout this webinar, is act on our fraud alerts. If you get a fraud alert from us, you know, respond. You know, we're here to help. If it, you know, and the other part of this is if the booking sounds too good to be true, or if it's in going somewhere that you don't usually ticket for, question it and, reach out to ARC. You can reach us on stopfraud@arccorp.com. Judy, we can see all your activity on the screen. Sorry, we affecting your
Yeah, no, I know. And to everyone on the call, I apologize for that. I guess I didn't close my email, so I apologize.
No problem. So, work with us, send us an email. We might not, immediately get a result for you, but someone downstream is going to gain a benefit from that value. And, we need to work together in this and, just do the best we can. But Doug will go into the depths of unauthorized ticketing and, provide some examples of what we've seen and how these issues come through to us and, sort of what you should be on the lookout for.
Yeah, thanks, Cornelius. Usually, when it comes to fraud prevention, a lot of people, they just rely so much on systems. And historically, I've called it, you continue to build your castle walls around your agency, around your airline. But if the guy with the keys or the guy guarding the gate doesn't know what's going on and, lets in the fraudster, all of that investment goes down the drain. So that's where, we keep talking about the social engineering, whether it's the unauthorized ticketing, the social engineering of corporate clients who are giving up their corporate booking tool IDs, the phishing emails, loyalty fraud as well, typically involves giving in credentials. So we'll just kind of, we revisit that again and again because it's so important as to how these things are getting out there, how your credentials are being used, and it's just a manipulation. So we can go on to the next slide.
Yeah, Doug, just I've got about 3 questions here. I mean, we've got more than that, but 3 that's relevant to what we're talking about right now. So if we can just tackle those real quick. We got one in here saying, oh, sorry, there's two people say they can't get any audio. I hope it got better for you as the presentation went on. If not, Judy, could you maybe see if you can help them at the interim?
Yeah. Cornelius, I'm just gonna jump in, and anyone that is having problems, I will type them. But if anyone is having kind of a issues with connectivity with that, you can also just call in for your audio, use your phone. So just an option. And I will respond to those ones, Cornelius, as well. Thank you.
And also, just for those who might be concerned, they're missing out, we are recording this, so we will have it available as well for future review. But okay, quickly, the questions here are we open 24/7 to protect agencies? Unfortunately, we are not, and there's a lot of specific reasons for that, but there's also an issue related to data. We don't get our data as frequently as you yourself, the GDS, and the airlines get it. So the data we're working off is always a little bit behind. So the value of us being doing a 24/7 job there is really not in our remit. We really, try and monitor and detect and identify, risks and fraud as it relates to the entire ARC world, but also to our stakeholders. So when it comes to 24/7 fraud protection, it's really the responsibility of the agency. You're closer to it than we are. You're the point of sale. And it should be dealt with right there and then. And most of the fraud tools out there available to agencies and airlines are designed at that point for that point of sale environment, because that's where the data is coming in from. That's where all the analysis can happen. So unfortunately, the way the data flows through us and where we sit in the transaction flow, it's a little bit more difficult for us to do it, and really not. You better to do so to protect yourselves from fraud than we are. We have data that we can utilize and put alerts out there, but we cannot be there for you 24/7 as much as we would love to be there to do it. We're just not in the right position as the data flows.
Yeah, ARC is always going to be basically 6 to 8 hours, 6 to 24 hours behind the fraud incident, because of the way that the data comes in each night or each day from the GDSs to populate ARC's data warehouse. We're at a minimum probably 6-7 hours behind, out to 24 hours behind.
Yeah, and then the next question is, to whom do we send fraud alerts for airlines? Well, we have a list of people that we engage with, and it's normally either in your fraud departments or in your revenue accounting departments that we reach out to, or whomever has been identified on file with us to whom we should send that. For the person who's asking the question in particular, if you want to validate with us, that we have the right people, feel free to drop us an email, and we can do a double take on that for you and anybody else on this call. If you want to make sure we have the right contacts for you, feel free to either call our CCC, our customer service, and they can update it, or you can just drop us a line at stopfraud@arccorp.com, and we'll circle that over to the right people to update your records as need be. Doug, anything you want to add there for that question? And then I'm going to do one last question.
No, I'm good.
Okay, and the question is exactly the same as the one we've just answered. It's just for the agencies. Again, the agency will receive the notification either to the people identified in your application as the correct people for these sort of messages, or it will go directly to the owners. But normally it's going to be the managers or the owner who will be receiving this. If there's someone else that you prefer to get those, there's a process for you to do updates on that. And again, CCC is going to be your best friend there to do those updates. But if you're not getting any, if you want to send it directly to us as well, again to that stopfraud@arccorp.com, we can route that to the right people and they can do the updates as well. But it's probably quicker and easier if you just go to our customer care environment for that. All right, so sorry, Doug. I just wanted to get those three out of the way as they were very relevant to what we were talking about just now.
Yeah, so here is, we want to show an actual recent phishing email. So I've had to copy and paste this out so it doesn't look quite like a regular email, but these are the important parts. Who's it coming from? Of course, we see the word, the name Sabre out there, but look at the domain, the email address, infos@bootst.info. So, if you're getting an email from your GDS provider or anybody else, because phishing emails don't always have to come from a GDS. It could be where the fraudster's sending you something claiming to be from an airline. But the key is always look at who sent it to you. This, think about this. You would do that if someone were claiming to be your bank, right? And click on this link and update your information. I hope no one would out there would be doing that without looking at the email address. So to help us out, there's a great, I think I've said this before, there's a free resource, a website called whois.com. So this is where you put in the email domain. So anything after the @ sign. So you type in bootst.info, and we can see that email domain was just registered a month ago, August 11, 2022. And we can see here on the date line, it was still being used 11 days later to blast out these emails to the industry, hoping to get one to fall for it. And typically, recently, it is, you know, a technology upgrade notification. You can see down below they're putting some urgency out there by upgrade time frames. So they're giving you a certain amount of time, like you need to go in and upgrade, right? And if we look at the next page, and of course, the fraudster's just copying and pasting. He's scraping the legit GDS provider logos to make his look legit. Now this is the bottom half of this phishing email, and when you really start to read it, there's some awkwardness to it, and in fact a few downright misspellings. But you know, Sabre is adding a new level 3 of security at time of signing into the reservations system. All users are required to enter a member login in for nation, so there's no M in the middle. So I doubt that any GDS will be sending out something like that. Once you're logged in, Sabre will be notified that Sabre Red Workspace has been confirmed. Think about that. So if it were really Sabre asking it, they're already in the system, right? Why would Sabre then need to be alerted if you're already in the system? So that's not logical. But the green box along the side, that sign in, is that embedded link that the fraudster wants to entice you as the user to log in. And of course, he's going to say down below a little bit, unconfirmed agent ID will be automatically locked. So that, once again, it's like you agent need to do something right now. That sense of urgency. But you click on the link, it's going to take you to a website that might or might not look like the GDS login website, but by inputting your login credentials, he's harvesting them. And he will be using them later on, usually in the middle of the night, to remotely access the GDS using your login credentials, and then he's going to start issuing tickets for his customers, who are typically, you know, I think I mentioned this before, they're already at the airport. These are oftentimes mostly cash tickets. The tickets just got issued, and they quickly often are going under airport control as quick as they can. So this presents a huge problem. So if the GDS detects the intrusion, and they are able to go in and void out tickets, they're going to void as many tickets as they can. But because of the time constraints, it's often difficult. So sometimes they have a lot of success, and other times the tickets get issued, immediately put under airport control, and the GDS is not able to intervene at that point, and the tickets are flown. So that is an issue, just the timing of it all. And remember, these happen at, you know, here in the US, it's 11 o'clock at night, it's 2 a.m. No one's at the agency, no one's monitoring this. So these are things that we want to look at, and the impact. The rest of it, like the word or the phrasing, increased productivity, period. So the I is not capitalized, but if it's a security update as it claims to be, why are they touting increased productivity? Those two are usually viewed as separate things. And then it's signed Sabre, period.
And this is sort of, you know, these are, and everybody's busy. That's how they get in, right? So everybody's busy. Everybody's, you know, they could create that sense of urgency and a bit of a panic. But if you just slow down and, you know, just, you know, give it some food for thought here as to why is this email coming my way? What's going on here? Just a couple of things to look for, as Doug just mentioned, could save you a lot of headache down the line. So, you know, when you get these things in and, you know, you're not expecting them, you shouldn't, this is not the channel that's coming through, you know, take a pause, review it carefully before you click that link. And again, this is where training comes in. If you have agencies that work with you or other people that work with you, make sure they are informed. This information has been shared out multiple times to the agency community. We've emailed this out in our TAC messages. We've created awareness continuously around this issue, and it still happens every day that we get someone duped into clicking on that link. And it might not necessarily be a Sabre email. It could be from anyone else. Sabre here is just an example. It could be, Norton Antivirus or, McAfee Antivirus telling you need to log in. It's not necessarily specific to the credentials of the GDS, because they can put malware on your system and they can watch what you're doing. And when you get onto that Sabre environment, they're going to scrape that information from you and, get in that way. So it's not just don't just focus on the GDS emails, create awareness around all of, these type of requests that all look pretty much the same.
Yeah, and another thing you can do is, if you're not sure, just because an email has an embedded link does not make it bad, does not automatically make it bad. We send emails to airlines and to banks from ARC that have embedded links. But of course, the receiver knows that they're coming and they're looking at them. So just because it has an embedded link does not make it bad. We use that to transfer sensitive information frequently. So that's one point. Another one is, if you're just not sure, you clicked on the link and you're like, what the heck? I don't know if I really should do anything. What you should do, if you're there, input bogus information. That's a great way. If it accepts it, then something's wrong, because if the true, if your GDS has your login credentials, they're not going to match, and there would be an error back. But if it accepts it, then something bad has happened. You are dealing with a fraud, a fraud phishing email. So keep that in mind. If you do click on it, be aware to input bad data. If you realize, oh my gosh, I did put in my legit login credentials, you close up and you realize, you get that bad feeling 5 minutes later of, I don't think I should have done that. Go back into your normal login routine and immediately change your password. Don't be clicking on that link again, but go through your normal routine password, login.
Hey, Doug, I've got a couple of questions here. Shall we hit the questions real quick? Just looking at time as well. So very, very relevant questions for this topic. We got one in saying, we were hit a couple of months ago with one of these emails. I contacted law enforcement, the FBI cybercrime department, as well as ARC. I was told by ARC that we reviewed the case, but because reasonable care wasn't identified, that they're going to remain basically liable. I've sort of changed some words here, but the question from the agent is, what should we have in place to protect ourselves? Is this something you can answer? And then I'll get in on on the position of ARC in these instances.
Yeah, I've got suggestions in another slide, so we'll get to that. What else you can do? Yeah, so that would be. I'll answer that shortly. Okay.
And then furthermore to the situation around unauthorized ticketing, if you want to reference the ARA, it's clearly described what is considered reasonable care, and in that same instance, it also provides you with some additional guidelines of what you should be doing to protect yourself. And a lot of that's actually been mentioned here in the other slides as well. It's just like, make sure you have potentially additional securities in place on your logins. do refreshers on your passwords, do a 30, 90-day, whatever is suitable for you, do those refresh, train your teams on what to click and what not to click, et cetera, et cetera. So there's some helpful information there for you on the ARA, and also on the, in some instances, the unfortunate position that we have to take as ARC when it comes to unauthorized ticketing. But we are here to help you. As mentioned earlier, we do notify the airlines. We try and make sure we can connect you with the airline to work together in resolving this, and also with the GDSs. So, normally, not to pass the buck, but the GDS is also going to be one of your first ports of call. Ideally, when you get one of these, or when you have clicked on one of these, they're going to be able to help you quickly, potentially, and then, of course, engage with your airline reps and see what they can do to assist you.
Yeah, and let me add in, one of the things we see is this information is not making its way down to the frontline staff. If you walk away with anything from this webinar, it is about unauthorized ticketing, phishing emails, getting to identify them. Just to put this around, the dollar amount, just this past weekend, we had 6 incidents of unauthorized ticketing in which a grand total of about $380,000 were issued just over this past weekend. We're coming in, typically they tend to happen over the weekend. So when we come in on Mondays, or, we just had a 3-day weekend, Tuesdays, and it's crazy. But the key, we beg you, make sure that frontline staff are aware of this, that they know, and, if they get any, to, forward that on to the rest of the teams, make its way up to management, because it's so important. You can see real dollars are involved.
Okay, next, should move on to the next one. Next slide.
Yeah, so here's some of the recommendations. Or we've been advised that the GDSs for years, there's a little catch on this, will not request acknowledgement through a link in an email, and that embedded link. We did see one recently, but the GDS security has worked with their marketing to say, please don't send out any future ones. So they're not going to be, if they do have a link in them, it's going to go to public-facing websites without requesting any of the login credentials. So that's been around a long time. Just let frontline staff, if the GDS, it claims to be the GDS or from an airline, we can see how tricky these guys are. Don't give up login information that way. Once again, only change your passwords through the usual login routine. That's key. Additionally, the fraudster or fraudsters, we don't know if it's one or a team, is quite adept at making their way into the system and finding out what other bridges or branches that GDS is connected to. And then they simply go branch into agency, they attack agency A through the branching, they go into agency B, and all the tickets are issued there. So that's key. If you're not connected in, you don't need to be connected in with somebody. Turn off that capability. And another neat one, this has been around for quite a while, but we know that Sabre has their an app called Ticket Safe on the Sabre Red App Center. I just copied and pasted this, so I know it's legit. But it allows the owner manager, if your business model supports it, is to especially for smaller agencies, is to go ahead and turn off ticketing authority as you close up shop, come back in the morning, turn it back on. If you're going to be gone for the weekend, or a Sunday, turn it off, turn it back on using the app. So that's a legit way to protect your agency in the middle of the night.
And obviously, if you're using other GDSs as well, reach out to them and ask what do they have on offer as well.
Exactly.
So shall we jump on to the next slide?
Yep. Okay. Here is once again we call it an imposter corporate client. I just want to show you some of the sneaky stuff they do. And this was just from a few months ago, this incident. So it's still fresh. The fraudster found out who the U.S. corporate travel agent was for an international company called Trotec Laser based out of Austria. They found out what their email domain looks like, and he added the -es. And you can see it right here in the subject line, Trotec Laser España. And he started emailing the U.S. travel agent to claim that he's an existing corporate client, but of course, he controls that domain and that email address, troteclaser-es.com. So this is one we see pretty often. Savvy fraudsters go out, they do their research on legit corporate websites, they find the name of executives at these, do the research, who's the corporate travel agent for them. They might make a pretext phone call into the reception claiming to be an employee, saying, hey, I need some business travel, can you connect me to the our corporate agent in the US? And so the information might be given up that way. We have seen that in the past, but you can see from this once again that free resource whois.com, that troteclaser-es.com was created May 16th of 2022, and lo and behold, same day, the fraudsters blasting out error request to their U.S. agent. So we love these free tools. It comes up, again and again, whether it's social engineering like this, the UAT. You can use these free sites to give you an idea. If you've had a corporate client for 10 years, and yet you're looking at the email address, it's slightly different. And if it's off one letter, one number, a hyphen that you haven't seen before, that might not be them. That could be the fraudster. So that free resource is out there. We use it all the time. It's great. Okay, next slide.
Yep. Okay, so we are jumping into, sorry guys, friendly fraud, chargebacks, and double dipping. Again, I think we've been talking about this in the last couple of slides, and for the sake of time, I'm just going to sort of summarize here what to do and where to go. I mean, this is we deal with this on a daily basis. We need to try and work together. We need to communicate and look at solutions and tools that can help you. One of the tools I mentioned earlier is the ARC risk check. We've worked with Perseus, who's got a bunch of data that we also provide data to them on what we see and related to fraudsters, and especially in the chargeback space. So that's a quick, easy tool to get from us. It's very cost effective. If you have the need to do larger volumes, you can utilize their API and go from there. But really, there's a list of things here that you can do. We also have guidance in the IAH, in the Industry Agency Handbook, on what you can do to protect yourself against credit card fraud. And of course, our website is another good resource for you to go and look at, as there is a wealth of information there as well that could help you in these such situations. But I think we've tackled this quite a lot, and provided some guidance here. But, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I'll add. We know that the rate of friendly fraud really skyrocketed in 2020 with COVID as people became antsy. They wanted their money back. They didn't want a voucher. They didn't want to wait for a refund. They didn't want a partial refund. They wanted all their money back. So I think, unfortunately, a lot of people learned that, oh, it's easy. I'll just decline the charge with my bank. So that is a huge challenge from every agency, every airline that we've talked to in the past 2 years is the friendly fraud. Some people call it first party fraud. Has absolutely gone through the roof. It does make up the majority of the fraud rather than criminal fraud or fraud, I should say. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So next slide, please, Judy. All right, bogus travel agents. I mean, this has been a big issue in the industry. It continues to be an issue. We've spoken on this topic during the payments forum. So if anybody is on the call today that participated in the payments forum, you heard us talk about this issue. It's one of those frauds that are targeting the consumer, and the parties affected here is you as an online travel agency. It's your reputation as an agent that's being tarnished for the airlines, on your direct channels, and even for your brand. There's an impact there. And then of course the traveler at the end of the day might not be able to travel or to recover from that loss as well, because by the time they think they're going on their trip, there's no way to go, and nothing that they have in hand is valid. So we've been dealing with numerous cases, and we take this very seriously, and we do take action, and we'll see that in a little bit as to what we do around that. But this is agencies selling counterfeit airline tickets, hotel rooms, and other travel services that do not exist. Or they impersonate an airline help desk to help with existing bookings or make new bookings. And these are, a lot of this is driven through social media. A lot of this is driven through AdWord campaigns on search engines, etc. And the fraudsters are very good at cloning popular websites and apps and make it look like the real thing. And that's how they get they get those consumers in, because everybody is busy. People are not paying attention. They click on the first thing they see because it looks legitimate. The name is the same or almost the same. And so they will click on that link, and they are going off to the wrong place. So as a result, users are confused, and they are misinformed, and they use these applications, and they start booking trips or making those changes. What's more, there may be malware within the app that can take over the devices they are using, resulting in compromising their security and leading to account takeovers of their bank and other sensitive information. So what can be done around protecting ourselves or preventing this fraud? No matter how obvious it is, ensure your travel agency is reputable and legitimate in the eyes of your customers. Make it easy for your users to identify your website. Invest in your brand. In addition to that, pay attention to internal linking, since it may help users still get back to the original site, because links are rarely deleted by the fraudsters. So keep those websites clean. Inform your customers. Educate your customers. Tell them that this exists. This is not a made-up environment. These are fraudsters that are out there that are preying on unknowing, uninformed consumers to make travel bookings, and affecting your reputation and everybody in this industry's reputation. Like I said, if we go to the next slide, ARC takes this very seriously. We have made changes to our ARA environment, which speaks to this. And sorry, that's going to be in the next slide. But you can stay here for a minute as I'll hand over to Doug here, because, you know, as mentioned, this is something we take very seriously. So we are tracking this, and we are tracking this on a daily basis, and we are, you know, we do our best to sort of suppress it and inform those who are infected as well, affected by this as well, and we go from there. So Doug, I'm just going to hand over to you for a quick brief overview of, you know, what we look at here.
Yeah, so this is just a small snapshot of what's going on, and it's just to build on what Cornelius was mentioning. You know, it's not just the dollar amounts that are lost. We do a lot of research on websites where customers are posting their bad experiences. Scam Advisor, Better Business Bureau, TripAdvisor, things like that. And when you see person after person saying, I lost this amount of money, I didn't realize, you know, it was only later that I realized I wasn't dealing with the airline directly. It was through a third-party travel agency, or who was claiming to be that. It's reputational, because a lot of these people who are posting, of course, they're really upset, but they'll say, you know, I'm never going to use a travel agent again. So that, as our industry, that reputation takes a big hit. And we're doing what we can to identify it and get, you know, especially when some of these people are putting in fly-by-night websites incorporating airline names, or things like, you know, you can see how the naming conventions go. You know, some of these guys, they'll reuse the same telephone numbers over and over for 3, 4, 5 websites. They'll use the same street address over and over and over again on these websites. When they use the same website graphics as well. So this is really something that we look for. We try to identify who they are. But for every one we identify, there can be 3 new websites popping up in their place. So it's like a game of whack-a-mole. Next slide. And so we are aware of, you know, when agents, we take it very seriously when they're misrepresenting themselves as a carrier. We've had a few that have put in registered websites and email domains that might have an airline name in it. They might have ARC in it as well, but as it's spelled out in the agent reporting agreement, when we find out about it, we take action. So that's, you know, that's all part of the agreement that every agent signs up with ARC, that they're not going to misrepresent, they're not going to use, you know, logos unless they have specific written approval to do so. Okay, next slide. Yeah, oh, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to add, so, I mean, just for the parties on the line here, we do take action, we do take this seriously, and we have been informed of agents in the environment that we would, you know, if they were ARC accredited or using ARC services in any way or form, that we will take them out of that environment and sort of terminate their appointment with us. You know, we work closely with a number of agencies and airlines, and in combating this, we've also reached out to you know, some of the search engines out there for assistance, knowing that a lot of the traffic that's being driven is coming through AdWords campaigns and other means. So we are very actively engaged around this issue and are working very diligently with a number of people to try and you know, make a dent in this issue. That as Doug said, this is very much a whack-a-mole environment. Running off onto you know, credit card fraud. You know, as mentioned earlier, this is fraud, involves stealing the credit card information of a cardholder, selling it on the black market, then for others to commit fraud using that. In many instances, these transactions are linked to last-minute bookings, because of this time sensitivity around the longevity of the card data before someone detects that their card has been compromised in one way or another. And of course, they're not just using it in this one channel, they are using that card in multiple channels. So again, the potential is there that, you know, undue charges or unexpected charges are coming through, and the user is going to recognize it. So these guys are using that card very quickly, trying to spend as much money as possible. And, you know, one of the easiest and quickest ways to do it is booking travel, high dollar amounts being used there. So what can we do to prevent this type of fraud? Well, it's very difficult to really know who's behind the card. You know, with our current digital environment, we don't know who's behind the phone call and or that booking. We can do all the validations we want, and because of the digital environments we live and work in these days, the person providing the information to you might seem like the real deal, and that is only because he's got all of the necessary information on hand and can provide it to you. So at checkout, pay attention to the type of credit card, whether it's a local or a foreign card, as the latter has a higher chance of fraudulence. And we see that. We look at BIN data when we do matching with cards. And you know, you need to look at mismatches between the payer's IP address and their billing information. If you have access to the IP address, you'll probably find that it's coming from a foreign country that does not align with the origins of the card, or you know, as mentioned, the billing information. And look for repeated purchases from the same user within a very short period of time. Sometimes they'll do a straw booking, and then from there, just, you know, once you've accepted that one, they will then start opening those floodgates, saying, you know, they've got friends that want to travel, and or they have this contact and that contact. And so be wary of that. We mentioned some of the resources we have on our website. So again, just referencing that, as that is a good place to get information from and sort of ways to protect yourselves. Doug, do you want to add anything else to that?
No, yeah, a lot of the resources on the ARC Corp website, arccorp.com, public facing. Look for the fraud prevention tools. We put a lot of this info out there, and let's go on to the next slide real quick. We've got just a couple more. We'll, you know, once again, a free website that you can input the BIN, the BIN, bank identification number, which is going to be the first 6 digits of the card. I love the website binlist.net. Input the first 6 digits and find out, you know, who that BIN is assigned to. This one, it just says that it was assigned to a bank in Israel. Sometimes there are paid. You can get a paid service that's a little more robust than this free website, but at least it gives you something, a fighting chance. So this is basically they photoshopped the number onto what looks like a USAA savings. So we know we've got information mismatch that Cornelius mentioned before. The next slide is simply the reverse of one of these credit card images. So we know that once again the fraudster's photoshopping this. What I like here is it gives the toll-free number what's supposed to be a USAA savings, but when you Google it, it goes back to a bank, Banco Bradesco in Brazil. So that's information mismatch once again. Next slide.
I think that's us getting to time.
Yeah.
So thanks for that, Doug. I just want to close out real quick. Here's a list of upcoming webinars. Please sign up for those. Got great information to share. I also want to just close out by saying combating fraud for us, the good guys, is a team sport. We need to work together. We need to share information. You know, we need to help each other out. That's the only way we're going to keep on top of these frauds. But it's been a great session. Thank you for staying with us this long. I hope we got to all those relevant questions, and those that we didn't answer, we'll get to you separately. Plus, the webinar is being recorded, so it'll be out there. And in addition, you can also contact us. If you go to the next slide, you'll see our phone number and also our email where you can reach us on. So, you know, please feel free and, you know, share information with us. And yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you all.